Hey everybody, welcome to the Matt Gerow Show. It's Matt Gerow. We're here for another episode. I know it's been a little bit. Work just got really crazy. I was having to work every single day. I was having to be at work for like a long time, like 12-hour days, sometimes even more other days. Hold on. Dogs are fighting in the background. Got to break it up real quick. Okay, now I'm back. So anyways, it's great to be back, and a lot has happened since we last saw each other. So this is going to be kind of a longer episode, which is always fine. I am on call with work right now, so we may have some interruptions from that. But other than that, let's just jump right into it. Starting off with, excuse me, the NBA preseason. So if you have not had a chance to watch an NBA preseason, I highly recommend it. Basically everyone who's like a regular NBA player and starter seems to be in full like mid-season form, basically. Starting with that Dame and Giannis OKC game. Maybe not everybody. Dame had a pretty bad game, but everybody has bad games. So I think he finished 2 of 11, 5 points, 0 of 5 from 3. I think Dort did a great job on him, and just the team in general. Chad even had a great block on him. The Thunder in general have been playing really well in this preseason. Chet especially, seeing his matchup going up against Wembenyama was really impressive. Especially because Wembenyama did not really try to defend Chet at all, but Chet did not back down from that challenge, and he understood that he's one of our biggest guys on the team outside. It's like him and Olivier Sarr, like the two biggest guys. It's going to be up to them to step up and play center, especially against these other teams that we'll have to face down the road, like the Lakers, who are freaking huge. And, the Bucks are another good challenge because you've got Giannis, and they had only Robin Lopez out there, but regular season Bucks, we're going to be seeing Brook Lopez and Chris Middleton. So there'll be some more length there for sure. The Thunder also made a trade here recently. We traded away Jeremiah Robinson Earl and Victor Oladipo, who is still recovering from his injury. And in exchange, we got Kevin Porter Jr. and 2 second-round picks. Now, if you don't know, just recently in the news, Kevin Porter Jr. Reportedly was, I believe, arrested for assaulting his girlfriend at the time, who is a WNBA player. Her name is, I believe, Kaiser. And it's kind of an interesting situation because originally when the trade happened, immediately the following news was that the Thunder are going to waive Kevin Porter immediately. Just eat his $16.5 million that he's got left in his money. And then they're going to get 2 second rounders basically for doing that. And Jeremiah Robinson Earl was a second rounder. And then we also got, I think, a second rounder for taking on Victor Oladipo. So still great moves by Sam Presti, thinking from that standpoint. But the reason it's kind of weird is because I just saw on Twitter the other day that the girlfriend, is coming out saying that she wasn't assaulted. He never hit her, and definitely not multiple times. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if that's going to affect the trade. That means that the Rockets are going to want to try to keep him around, or if the Thunder are going to actually not waive him and see if they can flip him or keep him or whatever they want to do. We only have one roster spot left open, and it's looking like we're going to be losing somebody. So to bring in Kevin Porter, we'd probably have to cut another somebody, and we're already looking at possibly losing Aaron Wiggins, Trey Mann, or Poku, or Jack White. Could be any of those guys. Then I have here, let's see. Yes, James Harden didn't show up for practice today. Shams Charania tweeted out that he hasn't been with the team since Sunday. And reportedly, according to Jake Fisher, he's actually in Houston. So most likely if he's in Houston, he's partying and hanging out with other rappers. So if that is truly the case, then maybe everything's not as hunky-dory as they started to seem to be as preseason was going on and training camp was going on. It seems he actually still is hoping and expecting to be traded. The Philadelphia 76ers are probably fine with that, but they want to get something good for him. They're hoping to get a couple of firsts and a nice young player. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know really what's going to happen with Philadelphia. They're kind of screwed a little bit. Could turn into a situation where, like the Thunder, they got Paul George for at the time what was thought to be pretty cheap, but Sabonis did end up becoming an all-star, and they were able to turn Sabonis into Tyrese Halliburton. And they did get Victor Oladipo as well, who also ended up being an all-star that season. But at the time, it seemed like we actually got him for pretty cheap because they were just a couple of young players. Could be a similar situation. Another team like maybe the Magic or somebody like that, who's young and looking for maybe a veteran to come in and run the show a little bit. Trade a couple of young players that, because you have excess young players. Could be the way it goes, but we'll see what happens. There's a lot to look forward to with the season. You have the Nuggets, who in preseason are looking like a well-oiled machine. Jokic doing amazing stuff in just limited minutes. They have new young players that are in to replace Bruce Brown and Jeff Green, who they lost in free agency. And they are an older team, getting older team, so they need some young blood, and they're going to need some of these younger guys to really step up. We'll see what happens. Excuse me, with that team. Just a minute, gonna break up a dog fight real quick. Okay, sorry about that. They're just having a great time. There's also the Lakers team, which seems to be fully reloaded. Lots of new offensive options. LeBron's gonna have his pick and choosing of how much he wants to hold the ball, how much he wants to let Anthony Davis do his thing, how much they're gonna let D'Angelo Russell come in and do his thing. There's also this new Mavericks team where you've got Kyrie and Luka getting that full season under their belt, adding in Grant Williams to come in and provide some defense and offense for them, and kind of like trying to build a more defensive-minded team under Jason Kidd and Luka Doncic. We'll see what happens. Luka seems to be like in great shape, but we just need to see it be more effective. We kind of want to, what I'd like to see, besides obviously Shea become MVP, because of course that's what I want, but every year it's like we're expecting Luka to be that, and it just hasn't happened, either because he gets hurt or his team isn't good enough or they just don't win. So this needs to be the season where he starts winning more games and making a difference in his MVP standings. And he's going to be going against a highly motivated Giannis, maybe not a highly motivated Jokic, but Jokic is still going to get attention. Joel Embiid's going to be fighting for MVP this season. We're not going to see that from John Morant, and that's maybe somebody we would have expected, but Zion Williamson has been playing in preseason, and so maybe he's somebody we could end up seeing making some MVP moves. So there's just so much on the West side to look forward to. On the East, you've got that new Celtics team where we've got Kristaps Porzingis playing, and if you've watched any of that in preseason, it looks really freaking good so far on offense. There's also the Pistons going to be coming back with a bunch of guys that have been out and they're finally all ready to play, and they also got their new young guys there. You've got the new I know that's back on the West again, the new Rockets and all their new players going back to the East. Though we also have the new young Wizards team where you've got all these kind of interesting players like Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma, who aren't coming out there to just tank or anything. They're actually going to be trying to compete and win, and seeing if they have anything there, or if that team is going to go kind of the Oklahoma City Thunder way and just kind of blow everything up. So there's just so many storylines that I'm interested in seeing how they play out. Obviously, the Philadelphia thing is huge. What's going to happen with that? What's going on with Toronto? What's going on with Chicago? Two teams that seem to be kind of in the same spot and want to go up, or are they going to go up or down? What about the Knicks, who added some Vanderbilt guys basically, and Dante DiVincenzo? Are they going to keep moving forward? Is Jalen Brunson going to get better? Is Julius Randle going to fall off? Are they going to get a new coach? Are they going to keep doing this Tom Thibodeau thing? There's so many questions, and then there's obviously the Wembanyama stuff, the Miami Heat stuff, the Brooklyn Nets team, which is young and looking good as well. There's just the Warriors and Chris Paul, and seeing how that's going to go. If you watch any of that in preseason, it looks pretty freaking cool and good. So I'm kind of excited to see what happens with that. And then there's the Suns, who I didn't even mention yet, and that's Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal all on the same team. So there's just about 1,000 things you could probably list off to be looking for with the NBA season. And October 24th is when it starts, and that is really close to happening. So, and that opening night game, I'm actually going to make a prediction for that real quick. Let me pull that game up. I believe it is Lakers Nuggets in the first game. Yep, Lakers Nuggets. Nuggets are at home. I'm going to take the I want to pick the Nuggets, being like a Nuggets fan and everything, kind of like a secondary Nuggets fan after the Thunder, but I think I'm going to have to go with LA. It's going to be ring night for the Nuggets. They're going to be taking all that time during the start of the game to get recognized. The Lakers are going to have to sit through and watch. Lakers had to listen to the whole offseason. Sorry, guys. That work week killed me. So it's taken everything to get through this, but I got it. They went through that whole offseason of hearing the Nuggets coach and the Nuggets in general talking about how they beat the Lakers, and the Lakers thought they were going to be a problem for them, and they weren't at all. And the confidence, basically. We're going to see the Lakers come out and want to put on a big show opening night, LeBron and Anthony Davis against Jokic. Now, it may not matter because the Nuggets are really freaking good, but just one game, I'm probably going to take the Lakers for that one. Suns Warriors in the next game. I'm going to go with the Suns, even though the Warriors have a similar issue where we've got new players in. We're trying to figure out our system. The Suns have a bunch of guys that could probably play in any system between Durant, Beal, and Booker. And they've got a bunch of nice guys that they added in, like Nurkic and in Nasir Little and Keon Johnson. So I think the Suns are going to be a little bit more prepared. So I guess for some reason I'm saying 2 road wins. We'll see if that ends up being true. But that's what we got for the NBA. Let's go ahead and shift gears over into the NFL. So this last week, the Cowboys made me proud. They were able to pull off a win over the Chargers. It certainly wasn't flawless. It had a lot of flaws. 2 good scoring drives, rushing touchdown by Dak and a passing touchdown by Dak. Decent passing numbers by Dak, efficient numbers, I guess you could say. Small yardage. It's all right. Defense was very good. They gave up 14, but they got the crucial turnover and sacks when they needed to. Kicker was on it. Very great season so far for him as a rookie. And yeah, I think I think that the Cowboys got lucky because I wasn't able to watch the game live. I had to go come in after because of my job and watch highlights and kind of skim through a replay as well, and then also listen to post game conference interviews and also just the DallasCowboys.com people. Kind of seemed like we are, because everyone knows the Chargers have issues. Brandon Staley has decision-making issues. A super talented team that doesn't win as much as it should, especially postseason wise. They made mistakes and they basically gave that game up to us. And so the Cowboys kind of got lucky. Lucky, though, is what you need to win a Super Bowl. Lucky is what you need to have a good season in the NFL. You need guys to stay healthy. You need them not to get hurt. You need the ball to go your way. That's part of the game. So I'm not trying to take away any credit from them for their win. We are 4-2. There's a lot of teams that wish they were 4-2 right now. So I'm very happy with that. But we need to they need to get their shit together before they start facing a team like the Philadelphia Eagles and they get clobbered. Especially when the NFC seems to be looking so open right now. I mean, the Eagles lost to the Jets. The 49ers had some horrible injuries and losing Debo and Christian McCaffrey getting hurt as well. So the NFC isn't as locked down as you would think. And honestly, it's the team with the best record, I believe, right now. Double checking at this moment. Tied for the best record with the 49ers and Eagles is the Detroit Lions, and nobody saw that coming. I certainly didn't. So that's we'll see where it is 5 games from now. Maybe they'll be 5-6, but they're looking pretty good. But we know in the postseason, that's not a team that anyone's going to be necessarily afraid of. So that's why I'm kind of saying like it's kind of looking like it's more open than originally at the start of the season how it looked. So on the other side of things, AFC, the Chiefs, Dolphins, they seem to be rolling. The Ravens and Bills are interesting but have issues. And then the Jets are sneaky good, I guess, because they beat the Bills now and they beat the Eagles. So very interesting NFL week. And also my fantasy team is suffering terribly. I've just had the worst fantasy luck ever in any season that I've ever played. Right now we are 0-6. I've never ever started off 0-6 in an NFL season, fantasy season. So and I don't have my first round pick, so I'm not motivated to tank either. I'm just trying to win some games and avoid the punishment for last place, which is, if you haven't heard me talk about this before, the last place and loser of the loser bowl, basically between the 2 worst teams at the end of the season, you have to spend either 24 hours in a Waffle House, or you can eat your hours by eating 1 waffle. 1 waffle is equal to 1 hour. So if you eat 24 waffles, you can leave. Or, combine it between time and waffles, whichever. Just a second. The dog's knocking something around. All right. We are back at it. So that was basically all I really had to say on the NFL anyways. Now it's time to shift into some talk about what's going on with UFO, UAP information and news. So I believe we are actually, this is good news. I think we are in the process, of being hit with what will be the biggest disclosure in our humanity's existence. We're going to be hearing a disclosure, I think, in 2024, based on tweets put out by Lou Elizondo. Sorry if I said that name wrong. He's just a moment. Another dog fight. 1 second. Sorry about that. Anyways, if you haven't been paying attention, there's been a ton of movement on this subject in the last couple of weeks. First, just recently, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, who's the head of ARROW, which was basically the UAP task force before it became ARROW, had an interview with CNN saying that only about 2 to 4% of their reports that they get in are truly could be considered as UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, and that they're receiving hundreds of reports every month from whether it's civilians, air traffic control pilots, like the FAA, just like commercial pilots, and then as well as military reports too. So they're saying most of them turn out, he said most of them turn out to be a balloon or just benign or something explainable. Kind of trying to rain down on the ARROW report that's supposed to be coming out soon, which hasn't come out yet as of this moment. 1 second. Quit it, guys. Quit. Sorry. They're getting a little crazy back there, huh? They just get excited about UFOs just like me, I guess. There's also going to be a second hearing, which I've talked about a few times, coming up with Congress. We're not going to get the select committee hearing. That was denied by Speaker McCarthy. But we are going to get another hearing like we had with David Grush. And I think we're going to have some different people, hopefully someone who can speak to the legacy programs or another whistleblower. But what has been confirmed is that Thomas Monheim, the current Inspector General for the intelligence community, will be, I assume, sworn under oath and then testifying at this hearing. So that's a huge deal, because whenever they wrote the letter to him from Matt Gaetz, Tim Burchett, and I think Anna Paulina Luna, I think, was the third person who signed it. He responded saying that they hadn't made any movement or audits or investigations on the subject at all, which probably wasn't true. Or maybe it was in a certain way. Maybe it's one of those things where it's like, we already kind of know more than you know, so that's all we're going to tell you, kind of thing. Hard to say. But it's interesting because at the same time, Matt Gaetz and 7 other Republicans and the entire Democratic part of the House. One second, dogs are having a sneeze attack over here. All right, what's life without interruptions, I guess. So hopefully we can get through the rest of this without any more of that happening. So yeah, these 8 Republicans led by Matt Gaetz from Florida, and then the entire Democratic side of the House of Representatives there was a motion made by Matt Gaetz to vote out Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House, partially because of this UAP stuff, but also the Republicans' distrust basically of Speaker McCarthy and stuff that's happened with past bills. And so now the House isn't able to actually operate like it normally does, because the vote for the next speaker, which was going to be Jim Jordan, he didn't get enough votes. So they're going to have to do another election. And maybe there'll be another name. Maybe Jim Jordan can do something to get himself elected. Maybe there's some sort of compromise person they're going to pick. I'm not sure. But it's all related. And it's just signs that there is movement towards something happening. And some of the stuff that's been authorized to happen, like this Inspector General coming and speaking, some of this can't be happening without approval from the White House. And at least that's the information that I've been finding from my research. So that means that President Biden will very likely be the disclosure president, the president who tells America about what's going on. And then finally, there's a podcast called Weaponized with George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell. And I've talked about those two guys lots. Jeremy Corbell is a filmmaker and investigative journalist, and so is George Knapp. He's an investigative journalist as well. And George Knapp has a long history of exposing things. Like, he's the guy who basically confirmed that Area 51 existed with his really famous Bob Lazar interview. And then Jeremy Corbell has the whole documentary about Bob Lazar, and Bob Lazar's house gets raided in the documentary by the FBI. It's crazy interesting, all of it together. But they just had an interview here recently with some guys who were basically, I recommend you go and watch it for yourself, or go on Twitter and try to find clips of it if you don't have time to watch all of the Weaponized episode, because sometimes they are kind of long. So I understand maybe you don't have time to listen, but this is important. They basically confirm. One of them is writing a book about it, and they're talking about it. His name starts with an L. It's like Jack, and I can't. It's like Latazzi or something. But if you just look up Weaponized on YouTube or podcasts, one of their last episodes, you'll find them. They talk about how they confirm that the U.S. government has a UFO. They have at least one UFO, and they confirm been able to breach the hull, like look inside of it. And from what I understand, there's no means of an engine or a motor. There's no area for exhaust or heat to come out. But with the little amount of information we have, we don't even know if it's actually a ship. But they kind of confirm more or less that it's a craft of unknown origin. So this is the stuff that people are talking about a month ago, in my mind, where they're like, stuff is going to start coming out. People are going to start dropping things. Information's going to start getting pushed out there, and we're going to get that slow trickle of disclosure. It seems more to me now. I've been wrestling with it for a long time. Does the government know a whole bunch they don't want to tell us? Do they really know nothing and they just don't want to tell us because they know nothing? It feels more like they don't know very much about it. But we'll see. That could be exactly what they're wanting us to think that they know. So it's gonna take it's going to take everybody who has any information to just put it out there, and then it's going to be up to us as people to decide for ourselves based on what kind of evidence we're able to tangibly get in touch with. And it's frustrating, because every day I go outside, I look at the sky, and every night I look at the sky, just hoping I'll see something or experience something, or some sort of confirmation will happen. But it's out of my control, and it just gonna get a little personal, I guess. It reminds me of being a younger guy, and being frustrated with the fact that I couldn't see or hear God, or other people who believed in God could talk to him and say they could hear him talking back, and he was telling them to do things, and I couldn't. And since then, I went from being just a complete and total atheist because there was just nothing behind it to confirm for me that it was true, but then there was plenty behind it to confirm that it wasn't. To now where I'm kind of in this, like, I don't want to say I'm agnostic, because I believe that there is a higher power. I believe it's whatever this non-human intelligence is. I believe it has a lot to do with probably our evolution and our existence. But it's still frustrating because now, in some ways, it's more frustrating because before, on Christianity, you were just going off of faith and what other people do and say, and that runs out pretty quickly. You're able to realize what's true and what you're just kind of convincing yourself of. To now, where it's like you get little tastes. They have grainy footage of objects they can't explain by the U.S. Navy, or they have cell phone footage of a light moving in the sky, and someone being like, I don't know what the hell that is. Is that a UFO? It's like getting a taste that keeps you on it and interested and wanting to know more. And so that part of it is frustrating for me, but we're getting closer. We're getting really close, I think, to finding out the truth, and we're getting really close to maybe not finding out the whole truth, but getting some piece of it, some piece of information. These guys also said, though, that on this Weaponized podcast, that there are reports of like people being hurt by the craft. That doesn't that they weren't really saying if it was like initiated by the people or by the craft, but that they are dangerous. And I think that's completely possible if this is a non-human intelligence that's so much more advanced than us in like the ways that we're talking about. For sure, they'd probably be able to wipe us out, no problem, if they wanted to or needed to. So I think that's, but at the same time, they haven't. But that doesn't mean they're safe. Like, some people will be like, well, if they want to get rid of us, they would have done it already. I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't mean they're really friendly or safe necessarily. It does mean, though, that to think that we're on the verge of discovering an alien invasion, that's probably not it, because that probably would have happened by now. Doesn't mean they can't do that. Doesn't mean they won't do that, but that very unlikely, I think. I think way more likely we're a species that has been garnered up through evolution, and they probably have a lot to do with it. They're probably trying to get us to a certain level of something. We're probably either property or just a creation, like an organism, or something like that. And they're able to observe us by means we can't understand or comprehend yet. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. We'll see if I'm right or if it's something completely different. It's it could be that it's even deeper than just us being property and them trying to cultivate us to being some certain way through evolution. It could be about connection, because as humans, it seems like all throughout humanity, humans have always created some kind of religion or some kind of spiritual thing where they want to connect to something greater than them. They want to find out why they are. My two dogs, my two beagles, they are like content with themselves just being there every day. They're never going to question why they're here or what's their purpose, and they're not going to feel bad about things like that. They're not going to get down on themselves because they feel like they don't have a good enough job, or or they're not making enough money or making enough impact or connecting with their like enough humans and society. Like they're sentient like us, but they just don't have that itch or wonder or problem basically. But we do. So what does that really mean? I think it means that we are special, at least compared to everything else that we know about on the planet. And not maybe special compared to everything else in the universe. We're probably very unspecial. But at least here in this place, we're special. And our purpose is probably simple, but we're probably made so that we wonder about it but can't know, or something like that. So a lot of different theories, a lot of different ways you could go with that. You should think about it. You should try and figure out what you think is going on, where you think we lie on this plane of existence. Look into different viewpoints. There's guys out there like Stephen Greer. There are guys out there like Tom DeLonge. There are guys out there like Lou Elianzato. There's the Tim Burchett's, people in government, officials like that who are kind of like a little bit more impartial. There are the journalists like George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell. James Fox, the movie director who's done a lot of investigations. You should try to hear from all their viewpoints because they've all got a piece of it. And I think that the best way to find out the truth is to get all the pieces and just figure out which ones fit together. So also I did watch the rest of or all of Encounters on Netflix. It was really good. Some really interesting stories. The one that stuck out with me most was stories about UFOs flying over Texas and over a period where multiple people saw them, and there being the older man who ended up getting divorced because he became so obsessed with the fact that he saw a UFO and then two military jets basically fly over after trying to chase it down. And nobody believed in him except for the other people who saw stuff. So compelling stuff. It's definitely a real thing. At the same time, while I want to experience it so bad, I feel like I could definitely be someone who, if they experienced a certain type of thing, it could ruin their mental, health, depending on what you saw or what it was and how it made you feel. Just seeing a light in the sky or something like that, I think I would think about it every single day, probably for the rest of my life. But if I experience something like what other people have talked about, like pictures in their head, seeing an actual biologic, getting beamed up into a ship or anything like that, I think anything like that could definitely wreck me, I think would wreck most people. So I'm kind of like, maybe I don't want to experience all of it just yet, and that's probably why I haven't, and probably why most people haven't, because if you really look into the abduction stories, the ones that are a little bit less believable are the people who don't seem to be traumatized at all. The people who are traumatized are clearly more believable because what do they have to gain by telling a story about themselves getting having something happen to them that was terrible? So, and those could all still be government misinformation things where the government pretended to be an alien and came out and wanted to scare people, and so they pretended to kidnap them. But it could be the other thing too. There's really no way to tell. So that's why it's important for everyone to do their own research. I want to close with a little bit of video game talk. Been playing Assassin's Creed as much as I can with my work being crazy, and I've been loving it. Assassin's Creed Mirage, it's really smooth. The colors are really good. The graphics are really nice. The story's good. Lots of new things to do as an assassin that they didn't have in the other games. The world isn't too big to where it's annoying to travel, so that's cool. There's a lot of fast travel points so far too. But tomorrow, Spider-Man 2 will be out, and I cannot wait to play that. It's gotten amazing reviews. I'm probably gonna have to like stop playing Assassin's Creed, probably beat Spider-Man and then go back to Assassin's Creed. Maybe I'll be able to go back and forth, but most likely I'll be stuck on Spider-Man. We'll see. But thank you guys so much for listening to the Matt Gerow Show again. I'm sorry it took so long to get an episode out, but it feels great to have done it and to keep the Matt Gerow Show going and feeding the Matt Gerow Show audience. Please like, subscribe, comment, share it with somebody. If you watched it once, play it again in the background. Give me a second view if you want. I don't know. If you made it this far, also thank you for listening to the whole thing. You're a real one, and hopefully we'll get another episode out Wednesday next week. I may switch to doing this on weekends because that's when I'm going to start being off for work. We'll see. But thanks again, guys, and you have a freaking good one.